Am I the asshole for not posting family pictures with my stepson? I, 31F, have a stepson that is 11M. I have been in his life since he was 2 and he lives with us part-time. That being said, I have a really great relationship with his mom. Ever since she got out a few years ago, we went to 50-50 custody almost immediately. We have agreed on everything and respected each other's wishes. One of her wishes was that she no longer wanted my husband or I to post pictures of stepson online. Not a big deal, we know there are creepers out there. Fast forward to Easter time. I had some professional pictures of us as a family, myself, hubby, stepson, and baby son. I don't ever spend money on professional photos, but I got a great Groupon, and since the holiday was a few weeks away, I figured why not. About 95% of the pictures were all together. However, I got a few photos of just myself, my hubby, and baby so I could get a new profile picture for social media. Anyway, we get the finished, edited photos a few weeks later and I print a bunch. I give family photos to everyone including Mill plus Phil, aunts, uncles, and my stepson's mother. She loved the photos and even hung one in her house. After that, I downloaded the digital ones and posted the pics of myself, hubby, and baby. I was very careful not to put any pictures of stepson on social media. They all look alike in a folder, per his mother's request. About a day after I had posted it, I got a really aggressive text message from stepson's mom. She said she didn't appreciate the fact I had posted family pictures, and made her son feel bad. I texted back and said I didn't understand. She didn't want his pictures on social media. Also, how would he know about it when he isn't on social media? It has been over 24 hours and she hasn't messaged me back, but I took down the profile picture anyway. Did I cross some sort of line? Am I the asshole? Update. Thank you all very much for your posts and suggestions. I did take few to heart. My stepson and his mother FaceTimed a bit ago and let me know what was going on. My stepson loves phone games, but per his mom's rules he does not have his own phone. He does use both her and our phones to play Angry Birds or one of those other games when he is bored. He had apparently been logging onto mom's Facebook for a while because she is only friends with family and he can see his cousins, on both sides, etc. He had seen me posting pictures of myself and my husband, baby for a long time. But he didn't think anything of it, because he was at his mom's house when he was looking at these pictures. Of course he couldn't be in them. However, this time when he saw the professional photos, he recognized them. Every single family member had gotten photos and had told him he was so handsome and how he looked great with his brother. But the photos on social media he had never seen before. I hadn't printed any because they were never meant to be printed. He realized that he had been kicked out of the pictures and was devastated. Mom couldn't get the full story out of a sobbing 11-year-old, but knew that it had to do with photos. Since he had recently been with us, she thought I had shown it to him and made him feel excluded. When I had replied with my questions, she investigated more. Once she figured out the whole situation, they did discuss her policy and he was very angry with her about it. This whole thing had occurred over many hours and she never got back to me. They were both exhausted and just went to bed afterwards. She admitted she was embarrassed about basically causing the whole issue, but honestly I don't blame her. The policy that she put in place was many years ago, before baby was born. I read what you all said about thinking about what he would have thought about that when he eventually grew up. I probably should have checked up with her to see if we could update the policy and then respect whatever she chose, but since he is only 11 I didn't think it mattered age-wise. After discussing it with Mom, she has agreed that we can post pictures of him once he is 13. He is happy since she was planning on 18. Things are all good with Mom and we are going to continue to co-parent as normal. Thank you all for your help and support. As for some of the questions, I will just answer them here. No, there were not any pictures of him, my husband, and I alone because we were in an outdoor hiking area and could not leave the baby alone. My stepson did get a few pictures of him and my husband. Those were some of the ones he received. No, I do not think she is still in love with my husband. She is married with a little girl. As for whether or not my son noticed, he is not in pictures, he is in a ton of photos. Those photos just don't go on Facebook. They are given to his mom or on the digital album that has them on a slideshow. Trust me, he isn't neglected lol. Not the asshole, she's upset because you honored her wishes. There's no winning with some people. Not the asshole. Her silence is very telling. She apparently forgot that she made that request and is probably embarrassed for lashing out. Hopefully she calms down and apologizes, though a lot of people choose to double down rather than admit fault. Not the asshole. She set a boundary and you respected it. Lady needs to make up her mind. Not the asshole. She's playing games. I didn't understand. She didn't want his pictures on social media. Also, how would he know about it when he isn't on social media? You haven't had a reply because she doesn't have an honest answer. Info. Have you told him that his mom asked you to not post his photo on social media? Am I the asshole for yelling at my son after he damaged my car? Earlier this year, I, M49, bought a Ford Mustang, which I absolutely love. My wife, F46, was never too fond of the car, but my son, M17, loves it, probably even more than I do. A few days ago, my wife and I had to leave town to visit her aunt, F78, who has been ill. My son has driven the Mustang before, but only under my supervision previously, and knows he isn't allowed to drive it if I'm not around. After we came back, we were gone for 2 days. This was yesterday, we arrived home. I went to wash up in the bathroom, and when I came out, my wife and son were both waiting for me. My wife told me that while I was in the bathroom, our son told her that he took the Mustang for a drive with his friends, while we were out of town, and slightly damaged it. I felt very betrayed and told my son that he knew he wasn't allowed to drive it on his own, for this exact reason, and he apologized, mentioning that the damage is very light. I went to check the car and saw that the front right wheel was slightly bent, with damage to the bumper and headlight, and I suspect there might be some damage underneath the car. I went back inside the house and yelled at my son, expressing how he lied about the damage and called him an idiot. Then, I asked him how exactly the damage happened, and he told me that he went for a drive with his friends, and they wanted to see how the car drove. I told my son that he's the least intelligent member of his friend group and that they took advantage of that. I also informed him that he'll be responsible for paying off the car's damage. At this point, he became quiet, avoiding eye contact. I didn't speak with him for the rest of the day, and he continued avoiding eye contact. That evening, my wife told me that I was being way too harsh and that he's upset. She suggested I talk to him more gently before bed so that he doesn't resent me. I replied that I've already said everything I wanted to say and that if she wants to talk to him, she can. She then expressed that my reaction has been disproportionate and that I shouldn't place such a large value on something that can be repaired. Feeling exhausted and frustrated, I said good night to her and went to bed. Am I the asshole? While I was, and still am, angry about him damaging the car. I mainly anger about how he broke my trust and could have gotten himself killed or arrested just to impress other people. Update: my son came back from school and I sat him down for a talk. I told him that I did not think he was an idiot, but reiterated that his actions that day were dumb. I then asked him to tell me what exactly happened, and I would remain silent the entire time he narrates. He told me that 3 of friends came over to hang out. After a while they asked to check out the car. My son showed them the car and even started it up and revved it a few times for them. I'm totally fine with. One friend, who kinda always struck me as being a bit of a little shit, let's call him Sam, suggest they go for a drive. While son did initially refuse, they kept pestering him until he agreed. After about 5 minutes, Sam then asks my son to start driving more aggressively, and unfortunately my son agreed and ended up hitting a curb. They drive home. My son told me that Sam was laughing the entire ride back. I also learned that Sam has been telling people at school to the point of during one class, which Sam is also in, when my son was using a computer, the teacher said something like, "Don't wreck it like you did your dad's car." Not the asshole, but this is a perfect time for a learning example. The lesson: taking responsibility for your actions. Have a man-to-man and not a "I'm pissed and said everything I was going to say" moment. Listen to what he has to say. Teach him about responsibility and keeping your word and what it means to make it right. Maybe set up a payment plan or a work-it-off plan. Don't blow this out of the water over a car, which your wife is correct, that can be repaired. If you go too hard or too distant, then there will be no repairing the relationship. Your son succeeding in life is 1000x more important. You are the asshole. The name-calling and comment about his intelligence was uncalled for, and he will remember that for life. But your wife saying that it occurred while you were in the bathroom, instead of the 2 days you were gone, sounds like a lie. Not the asshole. He knew the rules and broke your trust. He should be made to pay for the damages and no driving for a long time. You are the asshole for calling your son dumb and being significant other mean about it. You really missed a good parenting opportunity to teach him the value of money and liability since he's about to be an adult and should learn how that will apply to him soon. It's completely valid to make him pay you back, but you chose to insult him and make him feel like he can never be honest with you in the future. Everyone sucks here. Him for damaging the car and not disclosing the extent. You for berating him the way you did. That isn't the way you're supposed to talk to somebody you love. Especially your child. Am I the asshole for leaving my family and family business because they are homophobic? Not sure where to start. I have a twin brother. Some years ago my brother told me he was gay and afraid of what my parents would say. He decided to tell my mother first and she absolutely freaked out, saying all sort of no say like it was a phase, not to tell anyone because it would embarrass them, not to tell my father because it would kill him, and some religious homophobic nonsense. I decided to take matters into my own hands and threatened her that her homophobia was disgusting and if she decided to do that to him I would also cut ties with her, so she got calmer each year but not fully accepting it. My brother ended up super scared to tell my father, so I decided to take a quick secret trip to my hometown to talk to him and threatened to also cut ties with him if he did some crazy shit. My dad took it super chill and said he obviously supported him and there was no trouble, so I encouraged my brother to tell him and apparently everything ran smoothly. After finishing with uni I moved back to my hometown to work in the family business. I got along really well with my father and we worked together happily. I started to do really well financially, making 5 times what my friends would make. One day my brother confided in me that he finally had his first boyfriend. Apparently a super nice guy, and he had already met his family and was thinking about bringing him over for Christmas, which I was really happy for. Some weeks after that I was having dinner with my parents and they decided to call my brother to ask some things and he told them that he had a boyfriend. My dad only answered, "I'm in shock," and hung up. After that he decided to cut all economical help he provided to my brother, as he's doing some specialized studies abroad, unless he ended the relationship and stayed single for the whole process. I got really angry and asked him what if he came to work in the family business, and he replied that he would expect celibacy for the rest of his life as his lifestyle didn't align with his principles. I got really angry and confronted him, finally deciding to leave them and the family business behind as they were willing to fuck his life up in order to feel calm about their principles. I decided I would not be having an easy life depending on a group of homophobes. Also, he wanted me to inherit everything and was excited for me to take over so that they could be traveling and enjoying life, and now he cannot do that. And with them excited no have grandchildren in the near future, I assumed that would apply pressure to accept my brother. Now they say I made a tantrum and ruined my own life without thinking, put pressure on my brother. I keep receiving texts about how I am exaggerating and making a whole deal about it. So am I the asshole? Sometimes I'm not sure if the response was adequate or I should have taken another approach. Too long did not read. My dad asked my brother to remain single the rest of his life in order to be part of the financial family circle, so I left them. Not the asshole. Your parents don't deserve you or your brother. It's wonderful that you've had financial support from them, but if that's all they've got to offer, what's the point? At least your brother knows that you love and accept him exactly as he is. It's unfortunate your parents don't feel the same. As a member of the community, thank you. Ask your brother, I promise you he has so many positive feelings and just love for you that you stood up to them. You're a great brother and ally. You are to be commended for your courageous stand in defense of your brother. Your parents are obnoxious assholes and deserve to be cut out. Maybe one day they'll come to their senses, but until then, NC is the best strategy. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, with how the world is already, just sad that he's experiencing that from his own family. No gay guy should be with homophobes. Am I the asshole for pushing my partner to quit smoking? My 27 male wife, 25 female, have been together for 6 years. On our first date we went out for a meal and some drinks in town. After a few cocktails she proceeds to say, "Don't be mad, but after I drink I always do something." When we leave the restaurant she reveals she has to have a smoke after a drink, and lit up a cigarette. She could obviously tell that I looked a bit uneasy and so said, "Oh, don't worry. I've promised my family that I will quit by my next birthday." February at the time, BD in November. I could already tell she was very special and I wanted to spend a lot more time around her, regardless of the smoking, so I took her promise at face value, and we proceeded to have a fantastic date and many more. However, November rolls around, and she hasn't reduced the amount she smokes during the day in order to quit by my next birthday, as she said. So I asked her, "Are you going to cold turkey smoking?" "God no," she said, continuing to say that she was trying to quit but work stress was very difficult to handle and she needed smoking as a coping mechanism. Fine. Years go by, still no sign of quitting, but I love this girl more than anything in the world, and want to spend the rest of my life with her. After 5 years together, we agreed to get married. Best day of my life, no doubt. And then to top it all off, a month after our honeymoon, we are able to announce to our friends and family that we are expecting. Now, obviously, being pregnant and smoking is a complete no-go, and she knows this, and so for the 9 months of pregnancy she didn't touch a cigarette, or drink any alcohol, recreational drugs etc. All of which I am incredibly proud of her for. Towards the end of the pregnancy we talked about how we were going to cope with the newborn and the attempts to prepare ourselves, and because of her using cigarettes in the past to deal with stress I asked about it, but she said she wasn't going to start again. However, the week after our beautiful baby girl was born, she was back on the cigarettes, smoking about twice as many as before she was pregnant. Before our child I was okay with it, but now she is smoking around our child. After a few weeks I finally pulled her aside and said I wasn't happy with her smoking anymore now that we have a child and that smoking in close proximity to her was an absolute no-go. She blew up to me, saying I've always looked down on her, and I have no respect, and that the smoking was okay because it is being done outside. I'm usually a suffer in silence kinda guy, but when our newborn is involved I had to say something. However, I have clearly upset her greatly, and being this close after giving birth I have no idea what is going through her head, happening to her body. I don't know if what I've done was completely out of order due to it being so close after pregnancy. Am I the asshole? And #X200B. Edit. Seeing a comment about how much she smokes. Before our child, it was around 15 cigarettes a day, post-childbirth closer to 30–35 a day. You married a smoker. And she smokes. So there's that. Even if she said she quits on her birthday, she's allowed to change her mind. If you don't want to date a smoker, don't date one. That said, smoking around a newborn or really any child is an absolute no. I would even think it's fair to ask her not to smoke inside at all ever because it stinks. I'm a smoker. Also 30 cigarettes a day is a ton, if she really finishes them all and not puts out most halfway through. So I can see the concerns for her health. Everyone sucks here. She can't smoke around a baby or while she's breastfeeding. But in general she can smoke as much as she pleases because it's her lungs and her life. Not the asshole. If she's smoking 30–35 cigarettes a day she's either doing it around the baby or not seeing her baby. There's just not enough time in a day for both. If I remember correctly, being exposed to nicotine like that can increase the likelihood of SIDS, so this needs to be non-negotiable for the sake of your daughter. If she won't quit, or at least reduce, her smoking habits she's going to miss out on a lot of time with her baby. Definitely not the asshole. You're protecting your newborn. Her newborn. Quitting is hard. It's so easy to slip back into it. People can try dozens of times and still fail. But I also think that you, suffering in silence, for 5 years did her no favors. Did you support her in quitting during that time? Did she even try? Or did she just handwave her, "work is so stressful" excuse each time it was brought up? You said you love this woman more than anything in the world. Is that still true? Are you determined to save her from herself no matter how many times she snaps at you? Congratulations on your new baby. Not the asshole for wanting her and your baby to be healthy, which smoking is definitely not. Your wife seems very overwhelmed though if she's smoking twice the amount she was before. Perhaps look past the smoking for the moment to figure out what she's feeling that she's using the smoking to cope with. Then deal with the smoking after that?